On September 29, 2016, a bucket full of gold with a value of $1.6 million was stolen on the street of Manhattan in New York in broad daylight, in front of many people, and even captured by many surveillance cameras. Who is the person behind the robbery? How did he do it? And how did he escape? So find a comfortable seat, grab your favorite drink, and charge your gadget before watching, as this story will surely blow your mind.
MTV Facts. Yeah.
The person who committed this crime was a man named Julio Nivelo. Julio was born in a poor place in Ecuador. In 1989, he went to America to try his luck through illegal means. And because he followed his friends, he immediately landed in New York City. Unable to find a decent job, he turned to being a thief on the streets of Manhattan and Brooklyn. Their favorite thing to rob are the trucks parked on the street with merchandise for electronic shops and supermarkets in New York. Here, Julio was honed in the methods of stealing. But according to him, he would never use violence just to make money. One favorite trick he would do is to pretend he was run over by the target vehicle, and while the driver would check on him, his friends would then steal the items from the truck. Now earning a large income from their illegal operations, Julio learned to live a luxurious life. He no longer leaves the house without a fancy suit or jeans, and also became addicted to women, alcohol, and gambling. But on September 29, 2016, while walking on West 48th Street, Manhattan, he saw something he had been waiting for his entire life. An armored truck carrying a black bucket, parked on the street. What exactly are in these buckets? According to the rumors among thieves in New York, it is said to contain gold flakes that are very valuable. So he said to himself then, that this day he has been waiting for a long time in his whole life, and he has been preparing for it for a long time now. By chance, he can stop stealing and live an abundant life somewhere. While observing quietly on the other side of the road, he immediately noticed that there were only 2 guards with the truck that day. So he was even more convinced that this is really his chance of a lifetime. As soon as one guard left to enter the store, where they were bringing in the buckets, he knew that at any moment, he would have to act soon and fast. So his surveillance continued. In an unexpected event, the driver who was left behind the delivery truck suddenly left, and took the cell phone from the front of the truck, while leaving the back door open. So in an instant, Julio immediately rushed to get a black bucket that was left behind. In his estimate, he has to do it within 10 seconds as the guard will be back, and he might be caught. Julio knew that these are steel buckets, so when he pulls it, it will scrape against the back of the truck and make some noise. So he carefully lifted it with all his strength, and he didn't expect the heavy weight of this bucket, like 10 times the weight of what he expected. Even though it was very difficult with the weight, he calmly left with the bucket in his arms, while stopping every 50 meters just to rest. When the driver came back, Julio was already far away that he didn't even notice that the steel buckets they were carrying at the back of the truck had decreased by 1. When Julio reached the 5th Avenue in New York, and he saw no one following him, he already knew what was in the bucket was all his. He wondered why the contents of the bucket seemed to be so heavy and hollow while he was walking, if they were indeed gold flakes. So upon reaching his residence, he immediately opened the bucket, and was surprised to see 2 large and shiny bars of gold. But he didn't immediately get excited because he had seen many gold bars before that were just fake, and almost resembled the one he saw in the bucket. So he immediately bought an electric saw, with some blades at Home Depot, and spent the whole night cutting the gold into small parts. The next day, he immediately brought a small portion of the gold to his friend who runs a black market in the Gold and Diamond District in New York, and it was here that he confirmed that the gold was legit and of very good quality. So he immediately paid Julio $230,000. At this point, Julio was 100% sure that he hit the jackpot. He immediately thought of his fiancée, who had recently lost all her money from a burglary that happened in their house, including his own money he had saved for a long time. In just an instant he got it all back. He said to himself. This is where he started to calculate in his mind that the value of the gold he got could reach $1.6 million. With this amount of money though, how can he leave America? That was his question at that moment. He needs an expert in money laundering as soon as possible. So he asked his fiancée's opinion, and he just lied to her that someone would send him a big amount of money, and maybe she knows a way to invest it. His fiance's suggestion was for them to buy a house in Madrid or Barcelona, in Spain. The next day, when he was about to sell the remaining gold to his friend in the black market, his friend immediately doubted him. Because there were police officers asking every store in the gold and diamond district, and they said that an armored truck was robbed just yesterday. He said that he can no longer do a transaction with Julio. He felt sorry for him, but he knows a Russian illegal gold dealer who can help. Julio Nivelo knew that the police already had his photo from the many cameras in New York. And he was not wrong, because his face was captured on all the CCTVs surrounding the place where he took the gold. So when he got home, he immediately got a haircut, he bought some fancy suits, and he went out again to meet the Russian dealer, although he saw a lot of policemen around. When he returned home, he was carrying with him $1 million in cold cash. He earned a total of $1.2 million from the gold he stole. He immediately gave his fiancée $200,000 according to the plan. Then he put the $600,000 in 3 shoeboxes, all $100 bills. He placed the remaining $400,000 in $50 bills in bags. Now he needs to leave that place immediately, and the FBI agents are sure to come in no time. He only took $40,000, and he left almost $1 million in a storage locker in New Jersey. He knows that there is no chance that he will be able to leave the country with that much money. He paid a friend to drive him to Florida, so he could get on a plane out of the country. When he arrived there, he was immediately informed that there was a reward of $100,000 to anyone who could point to where he was. And his picture was in all the newspapers and television, so it was impossible for them to get on a plane in Miami. So they just decided to go to LA, because someone told them, there's a Mexican group there who accepts money to get anyone out of the country for the right amount. When he arrived in LA, he watched the head of the NYPD speak on television, and threatened that no matter where he is now, he will have no escape, because they will do everything to catch him. So he didn't waste time and left for the Mexican border. And with the help of the Mexican group, he was able to sneak through the border using a fake identity. They even rented an expensive car, and they wore suits to look like Mexican businessmen returning from a business trip to Los Angeles. In Mexico, he paid another group of people to sneak him into Guatemala. And in Guatemala, he paid some government officials so that he finally can go home to Ecuador. Success, success. That's what he said just after crossing the Guatemalan border into Ecuador. But what he doesn't know is that his story isn't over yet. He immediately went home to his mother's house, and when he got there, everyone else was looking at him. He is now very popular among the neighbors because he is on the news on all the TV and radio stations. His excuse to them is that he was just accused of something he didn't do, and it was only a simple immigration case. His neighbors believed him, and he lived a normal life without worries for a month. He thought he was safe from the hands of the FBI when he was in Ecuador, so Julio was just complacent. One day he was with his brother to go to the gym, when suddenly 2 plainclothes police officers approached. He asked for his name, which he immediately said, showing their badge while calling on the phone that they had caught the suspect. One of them also called the FBI in New York to confirm that they had caught Julio Nivelo. But because Ecuador does not have an extradition treaty with America, Julio remained in Ecuadorian jail. And since he has no record of any crime in Ecuador, and due to his good behavior in prison, he was immediately pardoned after only 1 year of jail time. The question is, where is the $1.2 million that Julio earned from stealing the gold? When he arrived in Ecuador, he immediately turned over the money from the storage box, which is in New Jersey, to his fiancée. And he waited for it to be sent to him slowly. But a month passed by and no money was sent to him. Until the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th month, no amount of money came. He tried to call her, but she didn't answer. In short, his fiancée duped him. She took all the money. One day, when Julio tried to call her, another man answered the phone, and said he was his ex-fiancée's husband. He said that later, because she felt sorry for him, his former fiancée sent him $50,000. Then Julio said that once, she called him that she was in Ecuador, and wanted to meet with him. She said that the police had taken the money from her, and there was nothing left. But since then she has not called again. According to Julio, even though he didn't get the money, he is happy now because his mother and children have forgiven him. He said it was just a big mistake that he already served in jail as punishment. Do you think Julio is telling the truth, or is this just a way to confuse the police? But the truth is that he and his fiancée met in secret, and they really have the money, and this story really has a happy ending like what we see in the movies. Feel free to write down your opinion in the comments section below.